Okay, folks, it's time to pack up the truck to head outdoors to see the one and only.
Hi there, folks. This is Big Doug Outdoors here. We're going to talk a little bit about crappie fishing as a beginner, what season I recommend to start out in, and we're going to talk a little bit about all 4 seasons out there. And I want to do a little shout out real quick, and that is to Rusty Bucks. If you haven't been around there or known they were around here in Versailles, Indiana, check them out. They sell a lot of boat archery equipment, and they do have an archery tournament, and they have an archery shooting range in there as well. And you can also they've got ammo and guns, and they've got some fishing stuff as well and trapping. Just check them out. They're real good people. Highly recommend them. And also do a little shout out to Grandpa's Bait and Tackle. I really grown to like this place. It's a lot better than any other around here. He doesn't give you this huge sales pitch on buying this and buying that. You know, this is what the guys are using. And not only that, he fishes himself. He gets out there and uses the stuff that he's got in his shop. And again, you know, I've been at one place. He just basically give me a sales pitch to sell all this junk that I got sitting here. Yes, that's what I call it, junk lures and stuff that probably never will catch fish off of, and never have much luck anyways. But some of it I'll use for maybe doing skipjack fishing. But anyways, we're going to talk a little bit about this crappie fishing and stuff that I went through as a beginner through all 4 seasons in 2021. First off, in springtime, man, you can catch all kinds of crappie you want, small, medium, large, big ones, whatever, off of different lures and stuff. You can throw anything you want at these crappies. They'll burn it up because it's around when they're starting to spawn, and also they are starting to get on the nest with spawning and stuff. But anyways, again, the #1 bait that I would use out there, recommend for all 4 seasons, is going to be your large crappie minnows. I have better luck out of the large crappie minnows than the small or the medium ones. Again, you know, because bait and tackle shop that I go to all the time, get my bait from, called Grandpa's, like I said. He separates his small, medium, and large. He keeps them all separated when he gets them in on shipment, and I really enjoy that because he doesn't sell them higher or lower or anything. They're all same price for a dozen. Doesn't matter what size you want. And I really appreciate him and his wife doing that, taking that time out. That really shows what kind of mom and pop shop they are. But anyways, spring, like I said, I was burning the crappie up like you wouldn't believe as a beginner. I learned with spring, I learned how they bite. You know, a crappie bites, because I never did catch much or even get onto them really good when I was fishing from the shoreline. And I learned that too. Get your boat, because 90 to 95% crappie fishermen I seen on YouTube were out on boats. There was a few that were out there walking the banks, and a lot of them, when they were walking the banks, were in smaller creeks and stuff like that. And again, you know, I don't have a lot of small creeks around here, so that's what my main go-to is, the lakes and maybe about medium-sized creeks and rivers. That's what I got around me. And again, you know, just have to try whatever works in your area. You know, I've watched YouTube channels after YouTube channels, tried out their techniques and stuff. And this summer I'm thinking about doing that, not naming that YouTuber, because I don't want to knock them or try to make my YouTube channel or make myself look better out there for you guys to watch. But maybe seeing what I can do that they're doing, if it works, if it's effective in my area. I learned that a lot this year. What I seen on YouTube on some areas doesn't work really well in my area, and lures and stuff as well. I know with dingy water I did learn, and that was effective as well in other states and stuff. Use bright colors. I mean, something with a chartreuse color or whatever, and I'll show you a little crappie lure I was using out there under a slip float for crappie fishing. And it's going to be this little chartreuse color, yellow, I call it a bright yellow curly tail, with on a 32nd, I think it's a 32nd ounce jig head there. It's a pink one. That works really good. It's a smaller hook. It's not a very big one, I was able to hook up with bass and everything with that little hook. And again, you know, I floated it about 1.5 to 2 feet under my slip float. And what I would do is I'd cast it up to the bank, kind of pull it gently to me, and then let it settle down real slow, reel it up, pull it towards me, let it settle down, let it sit there for a few seconds or even 5 seconds, however long you need to, and adjust that as well, because sometimes it's like that one, and then it's like, yeah, I'll grab it, and it's one of those things. And again, it works really well, and that's very effective doing that. And then I also, with the crappie minnows I was using, I would float them about 2 feet under my slip float. And I love slip floats better than I do the ones that just clips on. But anyways, that is one thing I recommend out there if you're going to do that. Using slip floats in the spring and through the fall, and in the spring, summer, and fall, we skip the season. And then when I was in fall, it's summertime, I started noticing on those hot summer days, it kind of just drifted off a little bit for crappie fishing. And then I learned let's do some drift fishing, because at that time I was doing it for catfishing and was effective with it. So I did it a little different. Instead of getting it on the bottom and dragging it through the bottom, I was putting these clip-on floats like this here, and I would put it about 4 foot underneath of my float, and you can adjust it as well when you're drifting. I know in my area I don't have a lot of current in the lake that I fish out of, so I used my trolling motor, and I would put it on one and put one of these on there and put it about 4 foot, and I was guessing with a heavy ounce, it was about a 1/4 ounce, I'm going to say, jig head, and I used a body section and done really well, decent with them. And I'm going to say, well, did decent with them, did decent with these little swim baits underneath there like that. And I found that it was more effective using a live large crappie minnow, and done really well with them. And that was with using a jig head. I used the jig head, that was a 1/4 ounce, and I slapped the hook through the bottom of the crappie's mouth and out the nostril like I normally use it when I was underneath the slip float, and just drug it back behind the boat, and I was catching crappie, some good ones too. And after that, I got into that worked through the hot days of summer and into fall hot days, and then when it got into when it got cold, it was like the bite went back towards almost like springtime. You'd have to anchor up or set around and just cast a boat out with a slip float. That started working pretty decent. And then I learned when it got really blistering cold or whatnot, I had to anchor up and set with my pole over the edge of the boat, and I was catching fish that way, and it done really well like that. And I got another video I'm gonna be posting out, and what I recommend for doing that. So I ain't gonna tell you, but you gotta look for that video. But anyways, that there way I was doing it, I learned that that was one of my tests that I was learning how finicky the crappie do bite. And how I noticed it was as I was sitting there with my floats out, wasn't getting no bite. I even dropped my depth and was changing up things left and right, trying to get them to bite that day. And I noticed there was a big pile of like bait fish went past me, and I knew they were bait fish because it was in a big pile of it. You could see it on my fish finder. And then right after that, I saw some fish in behind it, which I can't tell you that it was crappie at the time when I was watching it. It could have been bass, could have been crappie, it could have been a number of different types of species of fish. So I thought, okay, well, let's just test the water, see what that is. And I put it down, the first one down, and I used just a regular crappie lure with I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was about a 3/16 to an 1/8 ounce crappie jig. And when I put it down there, presented it, and it was right above where the bait fish were swimming through at, and wasn't getting no dinks, wasn't getting nothing. So I thought, well, let's put it right down in there where they're at. So I did. I put it right down in there, and what it was, the area I was fishing in, explain a little bit too, was it was a cliff that came down into the water, and there was some little bit of brush area, and then there was some the tops of trees that blow down in the water, and that's where I was at. And the fish were kind of swimming up and down through or back and forth in that area. And I put it right where I see them come through on my fish finder, where I got my what do you call it, transducer mounted out on my boat. And I made sure it's in line with that, and I put it right down the exact same depth as the bait fish. And I would get little dinks here and there, and then I put a crappie nip on there, and I started catching a few crappie. It wasn't real heavy, and I thought, okay, let's just go ahead and put a crappie minnow on there, them large ones. Put it on there like I normally do with my hook on a slip float, through the mouth and out the nostril. Set it down there, and I used a bright color jig head, like a bright yellow. And when it did, it's like dink, 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 and then all of a sudden, boom, they took off and getting it. And I could feel it when they would take off, because you feel just a slight pressure on the pole, or you see the tip of the pole just go down real slow, and it'll hold there, and then you set the hook. And again, you know, I really like that. It worked really effective doing it that way. And that is another way, like I said, that you can do it through the through the late fall and winter months, because they, again, you know, crappie are a finicky biter. They don't just come up and slam it like you see a lot of people talking about, showing on YouTubes and stuff. In my area, it was just a subtle bite, and you would barely feel it using a medium light action rod. You feel a little dink, and you can see the tip of the pole just do that each time. And again, you know, I highly recommend just starting out crappie fishing right during when springtime starts and stuff, because that is when you can learn the bites, the feel of the crappie and everything. And you can fish in all kinds of different ways and all kinds of different lures and stuff. But my number one go-to lure was under a slip float, and it was a crappie minnow, the large one. For some reason, they like the large ones better than they did the small ones. I don't know if it's the bluegills pecking at it mostly, and the crappies couldn't get to it because the bluegills were taking over that spot, or what. I don't know what was going on with that, but I do know the large crappie minnows was the number one go-to bait for me for all 4 seasons. And again, you know, find your little boat, kayak, whatever, you can get you out on the water. You won't be disappointed when you figure that out. That is something, as a good key method out there for you. And with that being said, I just want to thank you guys for watching my YouTube channel. Thank you for the ones subscribed to it. If you haven't, please do so, and tell a friend, family, and neighbor about it. I surely would appreciate it, folks. And like I always say, God bless and good luck to you upcoming hunting, fishing, camping here in 2022. We'll catch you guys till next time.
Because it's big enough for